So what if an offer is over the list price, but the appraisal for the property comes in less than that new purchase price? It's a real issue, and it depends on whether you're a buyer or a seller. And we have various strategies on how to help our clients deal with that. So for instance, if you're a buyer, the reason why you have an appraisal contingency in your contract is because you want to be sure that you have enough cash to make the contract work and to make your purchase work. So that's why you have an appraisal contingency. Now, in the current seller's market, you probably win more offers by not having an appraisal contingency, by waiving it. So, but let's say we have this issue, and so our appraisal comes in low, comes in less than the purchase offer price. So there's several things that a buyer can do. For instance, the buyer can decide to pay the difference. Just make the down payment bigger. So that's one thing. But sometimes you can't do that because you don't have enough cash. The next thing is you can negotiate. The buyer can negotiate with the seller to say, okay, so the property didn't appraise, now let's make the purchase price less. Of course, the seller's not going to like that. The third potential strategy is to just cancel the contract and say, okay, well, this won't work. The seller won't take less. I can't afford to pay more. So there it is. We cancel and start again. And then the fourth thing that a buyer can do is ask for an appraisal rebuttal, which means that we basically say to the appraiser, you made a mistake and you didn't appraise the property correctly. This is a problem because the appraisers don't like to hear that they made a mistake. And in my own experience, I've found appraisal rebuttals to be unsuccessful, 100% unsuccessful. Really a waste of time and difficult to achieve a good result. But the question of a low appraisal is a key issue that will derail the purchase contract and will derail the whole process. So it's a very important issue that we have to be able to solve. And we have to be able to solve it to the satisfaction of both the buyer and the seller. You need a good agent to help you with that. So the second part of that issue has to do with the seller. And if the appraisal comes in low, in other words, if the appraisal is less than the purchase price, the seller has to decide, am I willing to accept a lower purchase price? Or we as the listing agent, do we then negotiate with the buyer and the buyer's agent about making up the difference? Do we want all of the difference or do we want some of the difference? And it really depends on, do we want to stay in contract or do we want to say, no, we're not going to go there, we'll find somebody else. We'll find another buyer. The trouble is the list price too high? Right? So that's an issue that we have to figure out, because if it didn't appraise, then maybe the list price was too high. Or was it just the fact that the buyer was too keen and offered too much? Could have been that. And then, of course, you're always going to have a tough time finding a buyer that's going to put up more money than he expected, more money than they expected, in order to get into contract. So having a buyer that will pay the difference might be a bit tricky. So in this current seller's market, it's quite usual for the buyer to pay more than the list price. And it can happen that the appraisal is going to be low. So your best choice is to use an agent that's going to help you negotiate that, whether you're the buyer or the seller. Now, because my business is both full of buyers and full of sellers, we have good experience in how to deal with that. And so it's important to choose the right agent to represent you, whether you're a buyer or a seller. I'm Andrew Urban from My Urban Home Team, and we look forward to helping you negotiate these issues.